I now open the floor for comments and questions. And I would like to inform participants that those wishing to speak are kindly requested to press the button located at the base of the microphone in order to be placed on a list of speakers. Representatives of the Secretariat will walk around the chamber to ascertain the names of the participants wishing to speak. Once your name has been inscribed on the list, your microphone button will be deactivated. When a participant has been given the floor, kindly press the microphone button again. The green light on your microphone will guide the technician to activate your microphone. Once the light on your microphone turns red, indicating that your microphone has been activated, you may proceed to make your intervention. So we'll just wait a few moments maybe to organize the microphones. Please press the button in front of your station, and the members of the Secretariat will be able to organize the... Well, I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of South Africa.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator, distinguished panelists and colleagues. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Her Excellency, the President of the General Assembly, for hosting this important meeting on harmony with nature on this very auspicious day on the commemoration of Mother Earth. I'd also like to thank the panelists for the very insightful a discussion on the role and importance of education, as well as the importance of international and domestic environmental law. The protection, preservation, and sustainable use of ecological resources is the responsibility of all. And to that end, my President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, has recently launched a program called the Good Green Deeds program earlier this year, which is an environmental awareness program that seeks to mobilize all sectors in South Africa to become more environmentally conscious. Mr. Moderator, developing countries like myself, South Africa, are faced with challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequalities. How do we ensure that we create an enabling environment for economic and social development through the sustainable use of the environment and natural resources at all levels? I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of South Africa for the question. Can I invite a member of the panel, maybe if they wish to take the floor and answer? Yep, Dr. Bani.
I would propose a contrary reasonment. It seems to me that the application of the business as usual paradigm has not taken South Africa and the other developing, so-called developing countries to a better situation with respect of the recent past. So in my opinion, this means that the business as usual program is failing. And not only for developing countries, but for all the humanities. And the problem is that the business as usual paradigm is continuously profiting of the South, of the global South, in order to maintain the richness of the global North. So I would say that we have to have the courage to change and try to respect and apply an holistic perspective that it is the only one, in my view, that could rebalance this imbalance that the actual paradigm has created.
Thank you, Dr. Bani. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Cuba, followed by the representative of Bulgaria.
Gracias, señor moderador. Quisiera agradecer a los panelistas por las presentaciones realizadas y quería también reconocer la presencia de la viceministra de Medio Ambiente de Bolivia en nuestra sala en el día de hoy. Nosotros también acogemos con beneplácito la convocatoria a este diálogo interactivo de armonía con la naturaleza en el Día de la Madre Tierra. Pensamos que ha sido muy fructífero la información que se nos ha brindado. Los peligros del deterioro ambiental y la propia supervivencia de la especie humana están estrechamente vinculados a los actuales modelos de desarrollo que bien reconocía el panelista de Bolivia. En este panorama, nuestra delegación considera que la educación es vital para lograr procesos de cambio que deban orientar a la humanidad hacia un sistema de relaciones económicas más armónicas con la sociedad y con la naturaleza, que permitan también el tránsito hacia niveles de desarrollo sostenibles y propicien una calidad de vida decorosa y equitativa para la sociedad de la Tierra. La escuela, como agente educativo social y la introducción de la dimensión ambiental en los planes de estudio, constituye un pilar fundamental en el cambio de actitudes, de valores, de sensibilidad ambiental, la formación y reorientación de valores hacia unas relaciones armónicas entre el hombre, la naturaleza y la sociedad. Todo ello contribuye también a la promoción de estos valores del desarrollo sostenible. Y en ese contexto quisiera hacer una pregunta al señor Zambrana, que nos hablaba de cómo ellos han introducido en el currículo de la educación en Bolivia el tema de la educación ambiental. Hemos escuchado a otros panelistas hablar de esta educación a nivel terciario, pero a nosotros también nos interesa la educación a nivel primario y secundario, porque es donde estamos formando al hombre, al hombre y a la mujer, que después es el que será el político, el que será el legislador, el hombre de negocios. Entonces quisiera al señor Zambrana que nos explique, aborde un poco más cómo se desarrolla esta educación en estos niveles y si han hecho alguna evaluación del impacto que ya podría tener esta educación en los educandos. Muchas gracias.
I thank the distinguished representative of Cuba, and I now give the floor to Mr. Zambrana.
Muchas gracias. Es para mí un placer poder contribuir en algo a la preocupación y al interés de un país que es más bien el país que nos ha enseñado tal vez más en nuestra región sobre hacer saltos cualitativos y cuantitativos sobre educación, ¿no? No puedo dejar pasar a agradecer, por ejemplo, el apoyo que dio Cuba a Bolivia para poder eliminar el analfabetismo de manera muy rápida en los primeros años del gobierno del presidente Morales, y es algo que representa uno de los más grandes logros que hemos tenido. A la hora de poder avanzar también cualitativamente, no solamente en eliminar el analfabetismo, sino también transformar la educación, la ley 70, que fue la ley anterior a la ley 71, a la ley de derechos de la madre tierra, fue la ley de la nueva educación boliviana. Y en esa ley lo que se planteó es intentar precisamente hacer incluir varios de los elementos que Tomás mencionaba. La idea de volcar el proceso educativo a la construcción misma de lo que es un proceso colectivo de aprendizaje. De nuevo, colectivo entre estudiantes, pero colectivo en el sentido de encontrar comunidad con el resto de la naturaleza. Es por eso que organizativamente el modelo educativo sociocomunitario y productivo incorpora 4 campos de acción. Y uno de ellos, que es muy importante, es el campo de vida, tierra y territorio. Muchas veces estábamos debatiendo, yo participé en ese proceso también, estábamos debatiendo si es que había que organizar las materias o los contenidos en función a los campos, pero más bien lo que se vio era que cada campo tenía no que contribuir con información, sino contribuir con un enfoque. Y para vida, tierra y territorio, el enfoque fue el de convivencia con la naturaleza. y en ese sentido, convivir, vivir de manera conjunta. Ahora, obviamente estos procesos han ido avanzando, se nota un cambio en la actitud de los jóvenes, pero como bien se decía, probablemente el efecto final o el efecto de impacto lo vamos a sentir cuando esos jóvenes adquieran las riendas de lo que es nuestro país.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrana. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Bulgaria, followed by Mariana Santiago.
I'm sorry, but I haven't asked for the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, and my apologies. I now give the floor to Mariana Santiago from the University of Marília in Brazil.
Good afternoon. First of all, good afternoon again. First of all, congratulations to all the presentations. I have a question to Dr. McPherson. Doctor, I am a professor too in a university in Brazil called University of Marília, and I give classes in a master degree and in a doctorate in law about development and sustainability, and we speak a lot about consumer society. And in this context, my question is, how challenging is it for a teacher to incorporate the rights of nature approach in law education? First, consider that in a consumer society, most of students just want to have a successful career, and they not think about the planet most of times. And second, in countries of tradition in civil law, we have a strong civil code that says that only people has rights and personality, and all the law relations are about people. It's an anthropocentric view, and it's difficult for us to teach in this context. So, in your opinion, what should we do in our classes day by day, and how challenging is this? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great question, because what we are doing with our tertiary education is really pushing the boundaries in terms of what's been taught traditionally to include more earth-centred education. I think that in the past probably 2 or 3 years, it's actually becoming easier to include this content in the curriculum, just simply because of the fact that more and more laws are being passed and more cases are coming before the courts. So whereas this area maybe 5 or 10 years ago seemed like quite a fringe area, it's now clearly a core part of our legal system that we do need to teach to our students. So that helps. There appear to be new cases of, for example, legal rights for rivers or other natural resources coming up almost on a monthly basis. So we've got a lot of recent developments to point to, and that's interesting for the students. I think that in terms of the students being concerned about getting out of university and getting jobs and focusing on commercial aspects, in fact, it's the future generations who are more interested, because they've grown up with the threat of climate change, and they are, it's easier for them to understand the idea of nature having inherent rights and values, perhaps, than some older generations. That's certainly what I've found in my teaching. In particular, I've found that when I've been teaching Indigenous students, Māori students in New Zealand, that they have no trouble whatsoever in seeing the world this way. And so I recognise what you're saying in terms of the challenges, And I just think that we need to rise to those challenges because we are educating the future generation of leaders, and that's a really, really privileged and powerful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McPherson. I now give the floor to Doris Rogetley from the Global Petition Campaign for a Declaration of Rights of Mother Earth, followed by Katarina HwN.
This is a question for Thomas Egli. What kind of projects are directly oriented to rights of nature?
Thank you, Ms. Rogetley, and I now give the floor to Mr. Egli.
Merci beaucoup. Je vais répondre en français. Sur l'ensemble de nos séjours de recherche participative, sur les temps de vacances ou sur les temps scolaires avec les écoles, nous avons un certain nombre de thèmes scientifiques qui sont directement en rapport avec les droits de la nature. En particulier des science camps, donc des camps de sciences qui touchent au suivi de la biodiversité. Et nous avons des enfants, des adolescents ou des adultes qui font le suivi de l'évolution du nombre d'espèces présentes et qui produisent de véritables résultats scientifiques et qui deviennent auteurs d'articles publiés dans des comités, dans des revues à comité de relecture. Et ces données servent directement à la recherche scientifique. Et donc, il se trouve que tous ces enfants, ces adolescents ou ces adultes, qu'ils travaillent sur la panthère des neiges au Kyrgyzstan, ou qu'ils travaillent sur le retour du loup en Suisse, qu'ils travaillent sur la biodiversité marine en Atlantique ou en Pacifique, etc., dans tous ces domaines où nous sommes actifs, se pose directement la question de la protection de la nature, non pas en tant qu'environnement, mais en tant que système dans lequel nous sommes l'un des éléments. Mais par ailleurs, sur l'ensemble de nos opérations, que ce soit des opérations en astronomie, en archéologie, en informatique, électronique et bien sûr en environnement ou en géologie, etc. Nous avons également un objectif d'éducation aux droits de la nature et nous remarquons que les gens qui repartent de nos camps, que ce soit des enfants, des adultes, repartent véritablement modifiés par rapport à cette relation à la nature. Et nous avons la capacité d'avoir des retours et nous savons que derrière, ils proposent des projets différents et qu'ils deviennent actifs et acteurs dans leur société et prennent la main sur leur propre destinée et sont force de proposition, et leurs propositions sont directement reliées à un équilibre avec la nature.
Thank you, Mr. Egli. I now give the floor to Katarina HwN from the University of Copenhagen, followed by the distinguished representative of Georgia.
Good afternoon to all the distinguished delegates and panelists. I'm writing my PhD on the rights of nature at the University of Copenhagen, and I'm also a visiting researcher at Harvard Law School this semester. At my university in Copenhagen, environmental law is not a compulsory part of the law program. It's a short course. And so my question is, what advice can you give to educators who want to bring a Mother Earth approach to new places, to these traditional institutions that are very steeped in the old worldview and that are not placing protection of nature very high on the agenda? So what would be your advice for engaging with these traditional institutions to advance the Mother Earth agenda? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. HwN. And maybe Dr. Bagni, you would like to answer this?
Yes, being part of the oldest university of the world, maybe I can give some suggestion. Well, of course, if it is not possible to ask the vice chancellor or the authority of the university to insert and add a new course, my suggestion would be to begin to speak and talk about these issues on transversal subject matters, such as constitutional law, comparative law, global justice. All these subject matters can be very efficiently related to these issues. And so it's not necessary to have an environmental law course, but you can try to begin to speak of these issues in transversal subjects.
Thank you, Dr. Bagni. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Georgia, followed by HwN Wong.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We would like to thank the President of General Assembly for convening this important interactive dialogue and all panelists for presenting their presentations. We believe that education for sustainable development is one of the main instruments that can equip citizens, communities, and societies to live sustainably and support in changes of behavior for our sustainable future. ESD should be a lifelong, holistic, and inclusive learning process for enhancing values and ethics and creating new patterns of lifestyles to achieve transformation effect of humankind as a whole. Georgia has a long history of promoting environmental education. The Ministry of Environmental Protection of Agriculture of Georgia leads the process of environmental awareness raising through non-formal and informal education. It should be noted that the first intergovernmental conference of environmental education was held in Tbilisi, Georgia, 40 years ago. The conference brought forward environmental education as an indispensable part of the whole education system. Currently, the government of Georgia is working on development of education for sustainable development strategy and action plan for 2019-2030. And Georgia, together with Mongolia, prepared a resolution on investing in human capacity for sustainable development for environmental education and training that was adopted at the UNEA in 2016. However, despite the important achievements in the national level, we fully recognize the need of stronger international cooperation for the success of activities in the field of ESD. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Georgia, and I wonder if any of the panelists would like to make a comment. Oui, Mr. Egli, I give the floor to you.
Oui, on se rend compte effectivement que, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, l'éducation est absolument prioritaire, alors même qu'on pense qu'elle va prendre du temps. Et on a coutume de se rendre compte de notre côté sur le terrain que les choses passent très très vite. Et nous avons en ce moment, en 2015-2019, parmi nos encadrants, des personnes qui étaient participants chez nous à l'âge de 7 ans. Et nous avons en ce moment d'anciens participants qui sont en train d'entrer dans les cabinets ministériels ou qui sont en train d'entrer à des postes de gestion d'entreprise. Et les choses peuvent aller extrêmement vite. 10 ans, ça passe très vite et effectivement, il faut absolument encourager les actions d'éducation, mais d'actions d'éducation transversales, absolument multidisciplinaires. Absolument, c'est prioritaire. Et surtout sur la formation de ces personnes à prendre conscience qu'elles sont capables de faire des choses de haut niveau elles-mêmes. Donc c'est l'involvement, empowerment, implication et prise de pouvoir sur elles-mêmes. Parce que sinon, on a le problème quand même d'avoir des personnes qui pensent que c'est important de changer les choses en environnement, mais qui peut-être auront un peu de difficulté à voir comment les choses peuvent se passer concrètement, et on pourrait avoir des décisions trop structurées dans les propositions faites par les ministères, ce genre de choses. Donc il faut donner à ces étudiants le sens des réalités et les faire arriver dans les cabinets ministériels et dans les entreprises alors qu'eux-mêmes ont vécu des choses sur le terrain. C'est très important que l'éducation se fasse en connexion directe avec la nature et en ayant donné la possibilité à ces étudiants de pratiquer des projets eux-mêmes. Et après, résultat, on a des personnes vraiment efficaces dans les nouvelles générations.
Thank you, Mr. Egli. I now give the floor to HwN Wong, guest of the World Council of Peoples for the United Nations, followed by Anna HwN.
Thank you. My question is for Liam Sai-Pakmar. What do current ecological aesthetics reveal about life and death?
Thank you, Mr. Wong. And I give now the floor to Mr. Pakmar.
One more? Okay. Yeah, I just realized that I can speak in French. That will be much more easier. I think that je pense qu'en fait, il y a un paradoxe aujourd'hui. On note que quand on fait de l'écologie un objet positif, on le lie toujours à une idée de bien-être, à l'idée de la vie, en fait, au vital. Or, je pense que notre société a une espèce d'addiction presque compulsive pour les tragédies. On peut regarder la plupart des grands chefs-d'œuvre de l'humanité. Il y a une fascination pour la destruction et pour la mort. Or, je pense que la mort n'est pas une fin, mais est juste un passage, un moyen, et que moi, enfin personnellement, en tant qu'artiste, je suis confronté à la destruction en permanence. C'est-à-dire que pour créer, il faut nécessairement que je m'engage dans un choix, dans une direction, et donc je détruis toutes les autres possibilités que j'ai. Mais en faisant ça, je crée de nouvelles possibilités. C'est juste arriver à être au plus près, je pense, de ces principes de mort, de ces pulsions de mort et de vie, qui peuvent peut-être développer une sensibilité chez les acteurs et les personnes qui souhaiteraient intervenir et changer, mais tout en gardant à l'esprit que la mort est inhérente et n'est juste que le contraste de l'existence. Voilà.
Thank you, Mr. Pakmar. I now give the floor to Anna HwN from the Battery Journal of Art and Culture, followed by Mr. Rekimani.
Okay. Oh, great. Hi. Thank you for this really incredible conversation, dialogue. I am an educator and patented inventor, and am very much interested in integrating art, science, technology, and law. And I'm just wondering, this is a very general question, how might people really start to hold governments accountable for ecocide? And also, how can we sort of work together just in our daily lives to start to create language that might create more of an interdisciplinary awareness with art, science, and technology, and the law sort of working together? And then also, how can we hold governments accountable for ecocide and really penalize them substantially? And then conversely, how can we offer incentives, real incentivizing that would help governments to really implement sustainable ecological laws and practices that could really benefit everyone substantially? So it's a very general question.
Thank you, Ms. HwN.
Thank you.
I wonder whether Dr. McPherson would like to answer.
Thank you for the question. I do think that in teaching law and in educating lawyers about the earth and environmental law, interdisciplinarity is critical. Traditionally, law has been taught in a very siloed way, where we study law in the books, but we don't always, we haven't always spent much time trying to understand the contributions that other disciplines can make to our understanding. And I think definitely in science and technology have a lot of contributions to environmental law which are important, but also the humanities, as you highlight. Legal rights for rivers, for example, is an area where we see a real shift in cultural discourse, not just changes in law, but a real reframing of how people think about nature. And that can be really powerful in terms of driving social change, not just legislation in the book. So I think you've made a really important point. I think there's probably one of the other panellists that would be able to talk more about ecocide than I can, but I suppose one related comment is that it's been really interesting to see the courts of Colombia hold government departments account for perhaps omissions in terms of environmental regulation. And that's something that we're increasingly seeing, that governments can't just do nothing. They are being compelled by the courts to do more and more. So I suppose I would open it to one of the other panellists to talk about ecocide. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McPherson. And I now give the floor to Mr. Zambrana.
Yeah, just a short comment on what you asked. I think the problem with ecocide is the burden of proof. When do you really can attest that there has been an ecocide event? I think that is a problem from the technical perspective. I think that there are two other considerations that we have to understand. On one hand, I think it's important to move our mindset from retributive justice to restorative justice. I think that's something that is going to help us move beyond the punishment of such an action. And something that is very important in Bolivia is, on the other hand, the issue of deepening justice in a different way. Because usually our minds go to the government in search of the guilty party. But most affectations, most damage to Mother Earth is not from governments. Maybe it could be through governments, but there is usually another interested party behind the neglect of a government or an action. So we have to be very careful in doing that because, for example, some institutions from civil society said that in Bolivia there are violations against Mother Earth, but they don't realize that most of the tensions that you can find between development and conservation comes from an expansion of rights. And obviously that may have some frictions between different parties. But I think that if we can develop a debate around those three subjects, we can be closer to have a more comprehensive understanding of how to deal with things like ecocide.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrana. I now give the floor to Mr. Rekumani from the HwN Nation and the Rights of Nature Work Group, followed by Julian Mack as the last question for this session.
Aho, I really think it's kind of funny that being from the HwN Nation and I'm a Deer Clan tribal member, part of my job as a tribal member is to take care of the earth, take care of nature. And it's really, I'm really proud to be here to listen to what everybody has to say. I don't have too much to say myself other than being a tribal member here in the United States, we've always had to follow the constitutions and the laws, and you know, they push you around until you go this way and that. And I've taken the Rights of Nature resolution to include it into our Constitution. It's been voted for 3 times by the tribal, the General Council. That's all of our tribal members that actually join once a year. And the hard part is trying to get it to go to a vote with where the government's going to have to watch us. And a lot of people get nervous about that. I'm really kind of just like asking, how do you gain the confidence of the people that you're trying to work for in order to be able to make it really a good thing? I mean, it is good. We do want to protect nature. I grew up in the woods, you know. I eat wild foods. I eat, you know, everything that, and I always say thank you and a blessing. And it's trying to get our young people to actually not be afraid of the government again. I'm really trying to figure out a way to gain the confidence of the people. And I'm willing to listen to anybody about this. This is something that is serious, and we do need to protect nature. And I'm really proud to be here to actually, you know, been working on this for years. And I just really appreciate what you are saying up here. If anybody could answer something like that for me.
Thank you, Mr. Rekimani. And I wonder whether Mr. Ugly?
Oui. Très court. Souvent, on pense que ce sera compliqué de faire quelque chose avec l'autre. Et après avoir essayé, on s'aperçoit que l'autre pensait la même chose et qu'on perd un peu des années à ne pas lancer un projet commun parce que les gens ne se connaissent pas. Et effectivement, l'un des enjeux est de faire qu'un maximum de populations différentes dans un même pays se connaissent plus et osent faire des choses ensemble ou tout simplement prennent l'initiative. Et je sais que sur les opérations que nous organisons, où les participants sont originaires de différentes ethnies dans un même pays ou originaires de pays différents, des choses incroyables se passent parce que justement, ils se rendent compte que l'autre est quelqu'un de normal et il y a énormément d'affect qui est tissé pendant 1 semaine, 2 semaines, 3 semaines d'opération. Et nous avons après des personnes de différentes ethnies qui ont vécu ensemble des choses extrêmement fortes en rapport avec des défis à résoudre sur la nature et dans la nature. Et ensuite, nous pouvons mettre en place des opérations pendant les années qui suivent parce qu'il y a eu ce moment commun ensemble. Donc, si vous êtes intéressé, on pourra aussi voir comment créer des opérations d'1 semaine ou de 2 semaines de vécu commun entre ces différentes origines. Et ensuite, nous avons la possibilité de les faire continuer à travailler ensemble à distance parce qu'ils ont eu un vécu commun au départ ensemble.
Thank you, Mr. Ugly. And my apologies to Mr. Mack, but unfortunately we are on a very tight schedule, or schedule, I don't really know which one you pronounce. But unfortunately we have to interrupt or conclude this session. However, please be reminded that the panel discussion will be given an opportunity to take the floor during the second panel. So please ask that question during the second panel and it will be answered then. I think actually this has been a fantastic session and one where we've heard of the challenges, both practical and theoretical, that legal educators as well as members of the judiciary, legal scholars and activists alike face in engaging with the Mother Earth approach to human governance. We've heard of the sense of ecological urgency that is mobilizing youth movements and not just youth movements around the planet. We've also glimpsed at the inherent plurality, diversity and richness of the many distinct and yet parallel approaches known as Mother Earth approach, Earth jurisprudence, rights of nature, or ecological jurisprudence, all nonetheless focused on a profound global ontological and semantic shift toward a redefined legal conceptualization of the non-human world. So I would really like to sincerely thank my colleagues and the panelists for wonderful presentations, and all the members of the audience and distinguished delegates for the questions that have prompted a dialogue that I hope will continue far longer than the closing of this particular session. Before concluding, please be reminded that the second panel discussion will begin promptly at 3 p.m. in this chamber. And with this, the first panel discussion is concluded and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.